Okay. In I want you and I to kind of sit down and look at some things in our campus needs assessment and some of
Hmm.
the goals we had set in our campus improvement plan, specifically talking about reading levels and literacy, balanced literacy, moving our data needle.
Okay.
Of course, this year we've got some tentative scores. Of course, that zone of uncertainty. We've got, I want to say, 22 students sitting in the zone of uncertainty.
Okay.
So they could go either way, which puts us, without those students in, we're at 61% that
Okay.
met standard for STAR. So we know that when wherever we are in that 61 percentile, it's not where it needs to be.
So then comparing to the other or the other
Mm-hmm.
campuses in the
Right,
district, where do we
right.
sit when looking at
Um,
their data?
in third grade RLA right now, we are sitting at number 10, and
Okay.
there's 10 elementaries in our district.
Okay.
So we've got some work to do.
Hmm.
We fell a little bit below. I think we lost 8 more percentage points between last year and this year. So we've got some struggles, and I think it begins with early literacy, our
Hmm.
K-1-2, building those skills in decoding and blending and
Hmm.
sight words, so that by the time they get to third grade, they have already made that transition. I'm not know if second grade is a big year for them to
Right.
make that transition into learning to read, to reading to learn.
Hmm. But looking at like the prior years
Right.
to first graders
Mm-hmm.
transitioning into second grade, I
Mm-hmm.
know the year before last it was well below on grade level. So I know last year they were able to pull up to try and go from 38% up to 60. And then
Mm-hmm.
this last year, same deal, about 35, 40% on
Mm-hmm.
grade level up to 80. So if
They did
we,
meet 82%, which they had set a goal of
okay.
85%. But considering where they started, that was in our
Hmm.
campus improvement plan. So when looking at that, I I feel that was a big
Oh, yeah.
success on second grade's part. And
Hmm.
then first grade really took it and ran with it in February too, and
Hmm.
we saw huge jumps in guided reading levels
Right.
through progress monitoring and
Hmm.
strategy grouping, and really talking about goal setting with students.
Right.
Students were really excited when you guys sat down with them and showed them their
Hmm.
growth, and then they could come show Miss Benton how their
Right.
reading level growth
Hmm.
grew. They were super excited to get their little iridescent sticker that I
Right.
only gave to them if they grew a few. I think I sat with them one level, and then we went two, and then
Uh-huh.
we went three.
Yeah.
So they were super excited about that. So I'm going to include that in our next year's campus improvement
Okay.
plan. And I think the problem statements that we'll build
Hmm.
together will be, we have a diverse population,
Hmm.
um, with students that have a deficit in just reading experience, vocabulary
Hmm.
experience, and how we need to move that from the deficit to providing that
Right.
experience through the use of progress monitoring
Hmm.
and student conferencing to
Right.
build that skill.
And I think too, what's going to really help this next year is I know second grade had
Mm-hmm.
found M class, ran with it. I knew that was second semester later in the year, but even the growth that second grade saw in the second semester,
Mm-hmm.
I think what will be beneficial is getting the first grade and the kindergartners teachers on that same level of understanding with how M class can give them targeted skills and get them
Yes.
doing that earlier on
Mm-hmm.
so that the progress
Mm-hmm.
monitoring will have more meaning and they'll able to target those skills sooner and close those gaps earlier. So by
Yes.
doing that the next couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully within the next year even,
Yep.
that these third grade group, since 82% of them are going into third grade
On
at
grade level.
on grade
Mm-hmm.
level, then hopefully that will be able to increase just from the work that second grade put in, and that we'll see that
Right.
later down.
Yeah, remember back from our leadership meeting when we said we would start off and set those calendar dates when we would meet with
Hmm.
PLCs. to set those times for the expectation that
Right.
progress monitoring has begun and that, to have their strategy groups outlined. The desire from kinder and first is there. They
Right.
have the desire to do
Mhm.
those things. Now we need help from second grade to really coach
Right.
and tutor and teach
Mhm.
how those systems work out the bugs. I think kinder
Right.
had a few bugs in not bugs, but had a few
Right.
troubles. We
Mhm.
need to troubleshoot with them
Right.
how to make those strategy groups more effective.
Right.
Um,
So we're going to be filling a position. So
yeah.
hopefully we, with our interview pool, looking at
Mhm.
some resumes of people who've applied, there's a couple candidates that have actually taught first grade.
Okay.
And so hopefully they
Yeah.
have that experience they can bring to help with that troubleshooting and maybe even get their. But then I know we're going to have one of the second grade teachers put on a professional development to.
Yes, yes. Starting off the bat, so no matter who, if they're Canyon ISD and they make the shift to Sundown Lane, or if they're from outside of our district, we'll provide that during that in-service time.
Okay.
And we'll continue to provide that throughout during PLC. And then I've even planned on providing that teacher with some sub plans and
Okay.
a stipend for a sub so that they can go in and watch that teacher do their
Okay.
strategy grouping and kind of coach them along the way, similar to what we do with Texas Instructional
Okay.
Leadership. She will be that coach for that in class progress
Okay.
monitoring strategy grouping so that she can then step in and provide that instant feedback
Mhm.
that it may be something very bite-sized and small that
Right.
teacher needs to implement
Mhm.
to set those strategy groups on the right track.
Okay, and then going back to you saying about you budgeted for and were able to get a stipend even for
Mm-hmm.
a sub plan.
Yes.
So who did you communicate with, or how do you review the how much money you have in the budget and what those funds can go to?
I can see my budget lines through our program, Tyler Hub Munis, but also through my Title One crate. I have a budget for just our Title One campus. Okay. So I have areas that I have put in our campus improvement plan and our CNA to budget for those things, such as professional development, student growth. Specifically tying it to our student growth in K1-2 reading levels. So I set aside that budget line and I know that I need $100 a day to pay for a sub. So I just budget the number of days that I would like to use that sub. And so when you think about how we coach in TIL and how often we're going to meet and regroup kids, I've planned for a sub once a 6 weeks just to go in and provide that feedback.
Okay.
But we also have PLC time
Right.
to use so that we wouldn't need to plan for more subs than that.
Okay.
Because we've got Tuesday afternoons for faculty meetings if we need to have a quick faculty meeting regarding in-class progress monitoring for grades 2 through 2 or K through 2. So really, I keep those lines in my Title One crate and know what I've allotted out. In state comp ed, for example, I have some money in state comp ed that I can use for tutoring, that I can use for professional development.
Okay, great.
All right, let's look. I saw in here from a goal from last year that we're going to. I put that we would continue that. We've grown like it. Okay, here's some celebrations. In the 21-22 school year, we ended with a 54% of second grade students on grade level or for reading levels, right? So we ended our 22-23 school year at this being at 82%. So that's a huge celebration for our second grade. So I'm going to continue that goal, but I think with what we've put in for first grade, that we write a similar goal for first grade leading into second grade.
Right. And so thinking about some components in reading like phonics and teaching those skills for somebody that we're going to need to hire, what are some things that we're looking for that will help? What are some knowledge that this person could bring that will help get first grade and that be a manageable goal for them to achieve in reading? Phonics.
A really strong background in early literacy.
Okay.
So that's phonics, blending, sight words, how to assess, how to aggressively monitor your students to know that, oh, this one's got, I can accelerate this one. Ooh, here's where we're struggling. So I need to build a strategy group here, so that no matter their guided reading level, we've targeted the deficit and can work a skill group from there.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yes.
So really it all ties back to how skilled and how versed are they in working with kids from varying guided reading levels on a skill deficit.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Yeah. Which is what essentially in-class progress monitoring is.
Right.
But it's going to take some skill set for the teacher.
Okay.
Alrighty. Just looking over a few more of our goals here. Let me find. So in a goal that I'm carrying over that I think we've hit on, because we have to do so many station rotations that we get in so many guided reading groups a day and strategy groups a day. One of the goals I wanted to continue on was that the teacher and or instructional assistant will carry out 2 to 3 small group instructions over ELAR/guided reading weekly. I think we're far beyond that, so it's looking like I'm going to need to tweak that, and it's really daily, because we're going to meet with strategy groups and guided reading groups daily. I may attach a number on that to the number of. What do you think?
Right, because it sounds like we already are achieving that. So maybe
yes,
set a goal
we hit it 100% in June.
So maybe something that stretches us a little more, challenges us a little more to get it in daily. And
okay. So one of the things I want to talk about, and when we talk to candidates, and this is for me more than anything else, growing my elementary knowledge, thinking about when we group students, when we move them into different guided reading groups. Sometimes in the past, I felt that we wait too long to move. So, and I think teachers were feeling the pressure of doing a complete BAS on students. What are your thoughts when we look at candidates to talk through how they assess when their students are ready to move? And it truly doesn't take a full BAS to move a kid.
Right. And the
that's
meeting,
in our objective. By the way, that's objective 2. I think you looked at it with me. And it's on high quality instruction.
Yes, improving teachers' effectiveness.
Yeah.
And I think too, with our administrative meeting that we had a couple weeks ago, talking to the interventionists, they were kind of aware. They were aware that they wanted to set those calendar dates, but I think making it a expectation that when you see a child going from a C, don't wait to move them to a D until we have that meeting. To regroup. Like, I want teachers to have that autonomy, that they know they can move kids and it can be a fluid change, and really know that they can call upon the interventionist at any time. Hey, help me look at these groups. And I feel like with students who are behind reading level, that weekly they need to be getting those progress monitorings to see if,
or just the in terms of running record, completing. We don't have to complete a full running record on that student.
Just to put that expectation at ease, that the teachers don't think they have to do that and it has to shut down class for the whole day. It can just be.
Sure, we want the evidence of learning, but I think that evidence of learning could be a partial BAS or something to that effect, so that it's still effective instruction for the teacher, but it's also evidence that the child is progressing and ready to move when the child is ready to move. So it's really student specific rather than group specific. Okay.
Yeah.
Those are my thinkings in my newly acquired elementary knowledge.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And thinking of just our first grade goals, I know you've looked over them. Was there anything that stood out to you?
I feel like just
that you had questions on?
Not really. I hope we can find a candidate that has the experience with progress monitoring so that she can have that fluid change throughout the year. And like I said, not waiting until we have a specific data PLC to talk about it. Hopefully, we can find somebody that is data driven and they're able to reflect on their data to change their instruction daily, weekly, make those adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that'll be
Okay.
a priority.
Okay. Okay. So we're getting ready to move into interviews. So let's talk really quickly, and I have a confidentiality statement for
Okay.
you to sign.
Mhm.
So, Canaan ISD does not discriminate based on sex, color,
Right.
race, national origin, or religion.
Mhm.
So when we interview candidates, always keep in mind that in the interview team, we are confidential. We don't go out after the interview and talk about the questions that we've asked or the responses that our candidates have given us. That's what we provide to all of our candidates, and it's a district expectation, but it's also law. So I have this for you, and it's just you. Stating your affirmation of confidentiality during the interview and after the interview process.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Alrighty. And then after we finish our questions and all of that, and we debrief those parts, I will take your question sets we've made notes on, and those become secure documents as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds
Alrighty.
good.
All right. Let's get ready.